So, ladies and gentlemen, the battle for the city between Father Ngoma and the Anifa Forest has begun. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bokinabi Armed Forces have recorded another skirmish victory. You know, definitely, winning a skirmish does not really determine the actual end of a war. But this is a war that, based on the facts and based on the combat capability of both sides, we think the ghost unit is going to come out on top. Why am I saying this? This particular Father Ngoma has been a seriously kinetic region. Remember, recently the Tech team was transferred to this region of Burkina Faso, where you have a lot of victories being won recently. Because of the multiple destruction of this ring of the enemy operation in the Father Ngoma region, they've now moved to where I call their final stop, which is the Anifa Forest. Now, you have to understand that a lot of people in Father Ngoma were so excited that they were following the ghost unit as they were advancing, because if you know the history of Father Ngoma with this element, it has been very, very pathetic in the way these people treated people. When they move into any region, they displace everyone within that region. They ransack every building looking for loots to feed themselves. Don't forget, these are not even rich people. They are hungry people that are being supplied with endless ammunitions, weapons, and different capabilities by whoever supplies them. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this particular skirmish, within a critical logistic line between Father Ngoma and the Anifa Forest, which is about 45 kilometers, the Bokinabis were able to destroy 47 elements, to be precise. Because they noticed, because we believe that the moment the Bokinabi ghost units enter the city of Father Ngoma, don't forget those people have informants among the civilians. That is how they operate. They have informants. But in Burkina Faso, more than 98% are with the forces of liberation. Just that a very, very negligible amount that are either extremists, radicalists, they're the ones that still feed information on troops movement and every other thing to these elements. Burkina Faso have captured a lot of them, but they actually fed these elements with a precise information that the ghost units, they've arrived and they're advancing on the Anifa Forest. So this was like the first stop that the enemies created. Ladies and gentlemen, but what they did not know is that, number one, the cost of modern warfare is very expensive, and given the capabilities of the Bokinabis, they don't fight a blind war. So they actually sent their surveillance drones. Now, according to the information we heard, the Bokinabi surveillance drones have multiple capabilities to even be able to operate at night using thermal emissions from enemies, from tactical elements, to be able to identify them. They have infrared night vision gears and all of that. So it really, really improves their capability against the enemies at night. So there was a precise GPS location that was sent back to the troops. So after the precise intel was given to the troops, they actually launched mortars towards this location. The enemies dispersed because the surveillance drone was actually checking up on what was going on. Then the Bokinabi Armed Forces actually used their multiple rocket-propelled launchers, grenade launchers, that actually sent multiple shots in. Now, these shots did not have instantaneous impact on a lot of them, like direct impact, no. But the shrapnels that flew out of these rocket launchers, that flew out of those rockets, that actually had great impact and scattered, you know, it's always this sporadic kind of shot within a confined environment, actually took out a lot of them. Now, some that were about to escape actually suffered from their shrapnel wound, that at the time the Bokinabi now advanced to the particular site of contact, they actually met some of them. Some were gone, some were still much alive, but they were already incapacitated. They could not escape, right? And because of the level of damage, it was only fair to put them out of their misery. It was only fair. But from the videos we drop on our Telegram channel, you could see that some of the motorcycles were already damaged beyond repair. You could see that, in fact, the damage was serious. Their vehicle, you know, their pickup truck was already completely gone. Now, the objective is simple, based on what we feel, that the Burkinabis defeating these elements from post to post, they will be, you know, creating some type of base, a kind of containment base, as the Ghost unit continue their offensive with enough boots on the ground, because conquering Father Ngoma now gives Burkina Faso a big dominance over that particular territory, because between Benin and Burkina Faso, they have a large forest area where these elements can actually stay and conduct their operations from. Now, surveillance have already given precise intel that they have majorly their training base, they have their logistic points there, they have settlements, they've built structures there. They didn't displace people, they actually built structures there. And you know the way these people work mentally, they don't know how to give ground, like, okay, let's escape for now, maybe return another time. They want to fight for those structures. So their capabilities will have to be put into tests. We've heard information that they've given them a lot of anti-material weapons. We don't know to what extent it's going to have effect. But if you look at the technology the Bokinabi Armed Forces use in fighting, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give those people absolutely no chance. I'm going to give them no chance. No chance. Just my own, I'm just speculating. But if you've watched some of the direct video casts of the Bokinabi standard operation, you will actually know that their principles of operation is actually super elite at this point. And based on what I've seen, you know, in West Africa, most of the battles we've seen, I think Burkina Faso has one of the most, if not the most elite military right now, in terms of weapon supply, in terms of logistics, in terms of training, in terms of the modern technology that they use in combating terrorism. And when it comes to being battle hardened, I don't know, the AES forces, to me, most especially Mali and Burkina Faso, they look like the most battle hardened right now. But you know, I don't know, Captain Ibrahim Traore has just taken the capabilities of the Bokinabi Armed Forces to a whole nother level. Now we have the elements now, they are coming out recently.
Fagali mega takeda nyono maraka ni watina ama nyina uko antina nyina uko mungasaba au juli baraka bwadi ko mungasa ko alaka dina baraka korata wa au ka dara fana ni fagali mu fla nyono an labenen do akama wati kin labela jela amena wala ka fere bela jelenke kan sidaniga amba strafe ko.
Because what we notice is that majority of the logistic supplies have been cut out. The same thing is going on in Mali currently. Because of the fuel shortage in Mali, and because of the way the Burkinabe Armed Forces have been able to cut out that logistic supply lane, that logistic supply line, it is now affecting most of these elements. They can't, according to the information we have, some of them cannot even get fuel to fuel their motorcycles because they have to go through that part, and that part is already heavily militarized by the Bokinabi Armed Forces. Now, not the ghost units, actually the containment force. So, based on the information we had, that if the Bokinabi Armed Forces can capture the entire Anifa sector, they will be able to establish a direct defense guard like line with the Beninese border. So from there, they can now build something, a sort of military assistance or collaboration with the Beninese forces. You know, recently the Beninese military has asked for assistance, you know, from Burkina Faso. But for this to work, the Burkinabes have now sent their most elite team, which is this ghost unit. So if they liberate their Nifa forest, they will be able to have a very clear, you know, sight of what is going on, whatever is coming out of the Beninese border. Don't forget, the Togolese forces have a very, very good control over their sector. Now, these elements don't work in the capital, they don't work in the modern part of Burkina Faso, they work in the borders, like along the borders. That is where they work. If you look at Nigeria, they work in Borno, Zamfara, Katsina. These are border environments. That is where they work. And the reason why they work in these locations is because they want to be able to move, because that territorial border gives them the advantage of, you know, drifting from one territory to the other if the steam becomes very, very hot for them. But again, the Burkinabes they've taken some very, very important step, which is to continuously capture some of the citizens that want to make money by, you know, selling fuels to them. Those are the illegal fuels, you know, illegal, you know, transportation of things to these elements. And most of them have been captured recently. They are now being starved. It's now a matter of how long can they, you know, sustain themselves within the Anifa forest. Definitely they will have to fight. But one particular force is fighting without enough visibility, but the Bokinabe Armed Forces is fighting with enough visibility. The thing about the Bokinabe Armed Forces is that when they are fighting, they know the position of their enemy. They know where the enemy is. But Captain Ibrahim Traore is just, man, he has turned Burkina Faso into a whole nother thing entirely. Like, they know when the enemy, they know where the enemy is. Every time he advances, they know it. Even the ones that escape, they have surveillance on them. I was surprised when I was seeing some of those videos. You know, it just shows that Burkina Faso has really, really advanced. And it also addressed this recent, you know, misunderstanding about the Russian, you know, moving their, you know, visa application and all of that to, you know, Cote d'Ivoire and all of that. The thing is simple. Right from time, the Russian armed forces has never been in Burkina Faso. I don't know. There has been so many speculation. Oh, North Korea commandos, this and that. No. Not that I know of. Right? The Wagners have never been in Burkina Faso. The last time I heard Captain Ibrahim Traore talked about things was that he said that they don't need the Wagners, that they have the VDP, which is one of the largest military formation in Africa as we speak. So he said they have the VDP, and these VDPs are really, really combat capable, most of which are Burkinabe citizens, and, you know, combined sometimes with some of the JNIMs in their operations, sometimes together with the BIR. So, I mean, their capabilities is just up there. So, you know, the thing now is that the whole Russia living on all of that, some people are saying maybe there is a big attack coming. No, there has never been a big attack coming. Captain Ibrahim Traore really, really has some security agreements with Russia, and that is in terms of procuring some equipment, and, you know, they have to send personnel to come and train you know, and the personnel will equally train the Bokinabi engineers, because the way Burkina Faso agrees and sign their own contract is different. They don't send troops in to come and train their troops. No, Burkina Faso is really, really talking about sovereignty and liberation, which has a lot to do with, like, it's not getting away from France and try to, you know, inculcate another ideology. No, that would be dumping one colonialist for another colonialist. It's actually the Bokinabi elite forces that are actually doing the training. They have people that have the experience, that are generals, that have the capabilities of training their own troops. So the only thing they do is they buy equipment from Russia. Russia is the supplier of 97% of the armaments in Burkina Faso, and Turkey, you know, when it comes to the drone capabilities and all of that, even China. So when they bring in this equipment, you know, there is always maintenance agreements, and there is always a sort of you know, passing of information down. And right now, Burkina Faso want to stop some of these things because they've now got into their industrial phase, which is the manufacture of some of this equipment. So that is what Burkina Faso is doing. So whoever is bringing in this comment of like there is an attack that is about, no, nothing is about to happen. Burkina Faso has really steady control over the situation. So yeah, I've just been able to throw a light on that. So if you find this information very, very insightful and informative, you can just help by, you know, dropping a like. And if you're feeling generous, you can drop a comment in the comment section below. It's your boy 7200 signing out. Enough said. But before I go, remember to always check back in, because the notification might not alert you sometimes. I don't know why. So just, you know, always check back to find some of our videos. We post every day, so we'll have to keep you guys updated about what is going on the front line. So that is it for now with the Anifa skirmish, and we'll continue to bring this information until the entire territory is being liberated. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.